Coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Welcome to the Sports Wagering Zone. Good morning. I'm Chris Pardo. Good afternoon, depending on whatever time zone you happen to be in. Welcome to the show. Like I said, we're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your podcast platforms, the major ones at least, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts. You can find us just about anywhere. We're also on Blackjack TV and, of course, at milehighradio.com as well. So thank you once again. It's Saturday. We got a big weekend coming up. NFL pregame season is really getting underway. We're going to do some talking about that. We're going to talk about a system about over and under totals that will give you the stats on. You can decide for yourself what you think of it, whether or not you want to be part of it or not. But we're going to tell you all about that, talk about the games on tap for today with the odds, the latest odds, any line movement in them, kind of bring those to your attention as well, because they're key as well, because kind of tells you which direction the pros, if any of them are betting on them, are going. And there are quite a few that do like it. You know, there are some pros that like betting preseason games. They think they do better in preseason games than they do in picking during the regular season. Then there's the other ones that they just don't want to have anything to do with it. And of course, that's up to you to decide what direction you want to go. We also have baseball because baseball is still reigning king for the next couple of weeks anyway. We got Oakland against Texas. We're going to be looking at the Cardinals against Kansas City and Houston against the Los Angeles Angels. Those are the three games we're going to take a close look at. And also, we're going to be taking another look at our winning and losing streak, because now one of the games yesterday that kind of changed now falls into what we call the swagger theory, and we'll go into that as well. But as always, in the meantime, the first thing that we want to actually get involved in is kind of let you know what happened yesterday as far as the sports betting situation is concerned. So let's start with the NFL. You know, the Cardinals, being a 2-point favorite, beat the Cowboys 19-16, and they covered because Matt Prater kicked that game-winning field goal as time was expiring. We're getting down into that once again. We talked about this yesterday for a minute. You know how complex and how things can change all of a sudden. You know, going into that halfway through that quarter, if you were a Cowboys fan, you felt pretty good about yourself, and then it kind of changed a little bit, and then all of a sudden, there you go, 1916, always in the other direction. So instead of having that 2-point difference, won by 3, no problem. The Titans were 2.5-point underdogs, and they upset the Falcons 23-3. The Bills, as 2-point underdogs, upset the Lions. And that was another close one right at the end there as well, 16-15. The underdogs, well, they went 2-1 straight up and against the spread yesterday. Road teams also went 2-1 straight up and against the spread as well. However, the unders went 3-0 yesterday. The dogs are 3-2 straight up and against the spread so far this week. But the favorites and the dogs, since the preseason started, are now tied at 3-3 against the spread. And of course, that's including the Hall of Fame game as well. Road teams are 3-2 straight up and against the spread this week. No home road teams in the Hall of Fame game because that was a neutral site, so that doesn't count either way. The unders right now are 4-1, and this week they're 5-1 overall. So those are the stats on the NFL, and like I said, we'll go into a little more detail on that as well. Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, favorites, they went 9-4 yesterday. So now for the last 10 days, the favorites are at almost 74%. They've been up that 74, 75% for the past few days. So they're doing very, very well. But you did have some upsets. The Diamondbacks at a plus 163 on the money line against the Padres. The Reds is a plus 147 against the Phillies. The Rangers is a plus 146 against the A's. The Mariners a plus 145 against the Blue Jays. Now, the favorites still lead, however, since the beginning of the season. They're at 59%. The under went 7-6 yesterday, but the overs, they still lead, and they're at almost 51%. So that's the story as far as baseball is concerned for yesterday. And also, as far as the NFL is concerned, brought you up to date as to how the various situations worked out, whether you run a favorite or an underdog, you know how you did. The dogs are doing pretty good. Of course, as far as baseball is concerned, the favorites seem to be running and running amok, as they say, even, Anyway, that's the story for things that happened yesterday. So now we want to start turning our attention to things that are happening today. Like I said, we have 3 baseball games to talk about. We're going to bring you up to date on some NFL action as well. So, but first of all, we need to take some breaks. We need to take a break right now. We'll do that. And as usual, like we always say, we do take 3 breaks in the show. Each one is of about a 1-minute duration. And like I said, it kind of gives us a chance to kind of, take a quick drink of water or something, give our throats a 1-minute break in there, and come right back. So, and when we do come back, we're going to be taking a look at the NFL. We're going to see as far as some games and some line movement in some of the games for tonight, and also tell you about a little system about betting the overs and unders on the game totals as well. So here we go. Let's get that break out of the way. And just a reminder, we'll be back in the sports wagering zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. And of course, we're podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're just about everywhere. Very easy to get a hold of us any time of the day or night. And if you'd like to send us an email, kind of let us know how the show's going. Maybe you've got some thoughts and ideas on some little bit of changes we might want to make. So very simply, just send an email. Send it to the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. That's the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. Okay, we're talking NFL. So here we go. The NFL preseason. As far as the unders are concerned, we want to talk about those today. Very, very important. Because yesterday they went a perfect 3-0. So the record so far for the unders in this preseason is 5-1 from the first start of the season of this preseason. Okay. Now keep something in mind. Historically, these preseason games, they've been an excellent time to bet unders because between the conservative play calling that happens by the coaches, you have these vanilla offenses and countless first string starters that are just watching from the sideline, we tend to see lower scoring games. Now, if you look back historically, as far back as 2014, the under is now at almost 58% in the preseason. If the total is 37 or higher, the under improves to 61%. So if the total is 37 or higher and you go on the under, 61% is the win percentage going as far back as 2004. Now, today, we have 10 more NFL preseason games to get down on. Here are the under 37 system matches for today. The Dolphins against the Bears, under 37. The Browns against the Jaguars, under 37. The Chiefs against the 49ers, under 38. And the Seahawks and the Raiders, under 37. Now, the Broncos, as far as other line moves are concerned, the Broncos were a 1.5 point favorite, and now they are a 2.5 point dog against the Vikings. The Jaguars started out as a 4-point underdog. They're now a 2.5 point favorite against the Browns. Now, the Jets, who were a 1-point underdog, are now a 2.5 point favorite against the Giants. The Raiders, who were a 1.5 point favorite, are now a 2.5 point favorite against the Hawks. The Chargers, that's the Seahawks, by the way. Okay, the Chargers started out as 2-point favorites, are now 3.5 point favorites against the Rams. So let's kind of give you a little rundown of the various line movements so far that have been occurring for tonight's games, and also the 37 number. Remember, the system is called the under 37 system. 37 or more. Whenever you see 37 as being the total score, okay, go to the under. Over the past, 8, 12 years, it's almost been 58%. If you see that total at 38, just like the Chiefs 49ers game, that even improves it even more so to a point of 61% over that time period as well. So kind of a little something else to look at, something else to think about, okay, as you're looking at the preseason. The unders do very, very well. They've been doing very well so far. And if you go all the way back to 2014, as far as that goes, you'll see that they've been doing very well throughout all this time period as well. So that's the story. Think about it. You may be looking at this Dolphins-Bears game and not sure who you want to bet on it. So don't forget about it. Go for the over-under on the score. If it's 37 or more, go to the under. That's how well it has been doing. So that's the story with the NFL for today. The games for tonight as well. The line movement, kind of seeing by how the line movement goes, kind of gives you a general idea as to which direction the money is flowing, especially with the pro money, because they're the ones that can make those line moves the way they are. So let me just go over those line moves once again for you. The Broncos, who started out as a 1.5 point dog, are now 2.5 point favorites against the Vikings. The Jaguars were a 4-point underdog, are now a 2.5 point favorite against the Browns. The Jets, who are a 1.5 point underdog, are now a 2.5 point favorite against the Giants. The Raiders, who were a 1.5 point favorite, are now a 2.5 point favorite against the Seahawks. And the Chargers, who were 2-point favorites, are now 3.5 point favorites against the Rams. And again, There are four games that fit in the under 37 system. That's the Dolphins Bears under 37, Browns and Jaguars under 37, Chiefs and 49ers under 38, and the Seahawks and the Raiders under 37 as well. So that's a roundup of the NFL pregame sessions for today. Kind of give you an idea as to how the line movements are going, and also kind of tell you about that little bit of a system, method, whatever you want to call it. This way, it's just something else that you can think about, something else that you can add to your system. If you have a system you're very happy with, okay, stay with it. But you might have to tweak it here and there. Like I said, you may be looking at one of the games to bet, and all of a sudden, I don't know, I'm kind of unsure. They both look good. The line doesn't seem right to me. Well, go for the total points instead. That's just another thing to look at, to bet on, instead of just betting on the game or a team within the game. So that's the story with the NFL for today. Let's take our second break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the baseball games on tap for today. Oakland against Texas, the Cardinals against Kansas City, and Houston against the Los Angeles Angels. Just a reminder, you're in the sports wagering zone, and of course, we will be back as usual in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back. Here we go again. We're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, on the I 95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. To kind of give you an idea as to, we're here 7 days a week. We try to give you all the information we can, try to help you to become a winner. Not telling you who to bet on or how to bet or things of that nature. Kind of leave that up to you. But at least with a little help here, a little help there, a little tweak in your system, whatever you're using, or perhaps you want to adopt some of the philosophies that we espouse here on the show. But at least we leave it up to you to decide which direction you want to go. So in the meantime, we just got finished talking about the NFL games for tonight, talking about the over-under strategy called the under 37 system, which has been doing very, very well since 2014. So that's like 7 years. It's been doing very well. So, and it's doing exceptionally well right now, and since this season started as well. But in the meantime, let's look at baseball. We have three games on tap to talk about. Let's see which way the money is flowing in these games. Kind of give you an idea as to which direction the professional gamblers are going as well. The first game around 7 o'clock, you're talking about the Oakland Athletics and the Texas Rangers. The Oakland Athletics and the Texas Rangers. This was a game yesterday that kind of fell in under our winning and losing streak. And at this point in time, yesterday, the Oakland Athletics were on a 7-game winning streak that finally has come to an end. So, as far as the Oakland Athletics are concerned, and we'll talk more about it when we get into the final segment of the show as we talk about the swagger theory and as far as winning and losing streaks are concerned. But the Rangers stole Friday night's game 8-6. The Rangers were a plus 145 as a home dog as well. Now, in tonight's second game, Oakland comes back with their right-hander, James Caprillion. He's 6-4 with a 3.22 ERA. And Texas comes back with their right-hander, Jordan Lyles, who's 5-9, 5.46 ERA. Now, as we look at the line on this game, it opened with the Athletics a minus 180 road favorite to start. The Rangers a plus 165 on the money line as a home dog. Because the pros in this game, those big numbers, they don't scare them at all. In fact, they steamed the A's up. They like the A's so much that they steamed the A's up from being a minus 180 to being a minus 200 on the money line. Now, keep one thing in mind. Favorites of a minus 200 or more. Right now, they're at over 71% as a win percentage so far this season. Favorites that get 10 cents of steam or more, in this case they're getting 20, okay, are at almost 62% for the season. Oakland is 51-30 when they're a favorite. Texas as a dog is only 32-63. The A's are 40-33 against right-handed pitchers. The Rangers are 21-51 against right-handed pitchers. Now, Oakland is going to come back and lean on their bats in this particular game as well. The A's are hitting at 327, which ranks them 20th in Major League Baseball. The Rangers are hitting 221, which ranks them 30th and the dead last as far as team hitting is concerned. Now, Oakland is plus 80 in run differential. Texas, they're a minus 140 in that same category. The A's are 8-6 against the Rangers this season. So there's not much of a difference between them as far as win and losses are concerned. We could be looking at a lower scoring game as well. The total is 9, but the under is being juiced to minus 120. And when you see that juice going up like that, you can anticipate that that number will drop from 9 down to 8.5. So in this first game at 7 o'clock, the Oakland A's against the Texas Rangers, the pros, and you better get ready to lay some heavy wood if you like Oakland in this game, but the pros are on the Oakland Athletics. Also at 7 o'clock, you got the St. Louis Cardinals, 59-56. They're playing the Kansas City Royals, 49-65 for the season. Now, the Cardinals, they blanked the Royals 6-0 last night. They were a minus 135 on the money line as a road favorite. Now, in tonight's game, St. Louis comes back with their left-hander, John Lester. He's 3-6. He's at a 5.57 ERA. And Kansas City comes out with their right-hander, Brad Keller, who's 7-11 with a 5.79 ERA. Now, as we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Cardinals, a short minus 115 road favorite, and the Royals were a plus 105 home dog. Now, the public is happy to lay that short number with the Cardinals, who've now won 4 straight, and they've won 6 of their last 7 games. But as usual, despite all this lopsided numbers that are coming in for the Cardinals, they've also dropped from being a minus 115 that they opened at down to a minus 108 on the money line. And what this means, simply the pro money is backing the Royals at plus 105 at the start. And now because they did back the Royals as well as they did, they dropped the Royals to being a minus 106. So they totally flipped the Royals as far as the money line is concerned, okay? So if you look at it from this standpoint, it's kind of like a pick 'em, I guess. Just look at it. Now, interleague home teams with the line move that they have in their favor are at almost 59% this season. The Royals in this game have value because they're a dog with a high total. The total in this game is 10. The more expected runs scored, the more variance that you get, and there's more chance for an upset opportunity. The Royals are 19 and 16 against lefties. It's lefties, especially like Lester, but they're only 30 and 49 against righties. Now, the pros are leaning to the under in this game. The total is 10. The under is juiced to minus 120, which, like the game before, signals a good possibility it'll drop from 10 to 9.5. Now, as far as the weather is concerned, it's going to be temperature in the low 80s in Kansas City with 7 to 10 mile per hour winds that are going to be blowing in from right center. Now, the under is 3-1 between these teams so far this season. So in this game, the pros are on the Kansas City Royals. We have one more game to take a look at, and that's the Houston Astros against the Los Angeles Angels. We're going to take our final break. We come back. We're going to take a look at that and talk about some winning-losing streak situations as well. Once again, the first game we talked about, Oakland against Texas. Pros are on Oakland. The second game, St. Louis against Kansas City. The pros are on the Kansas City Royals in that particular game. So, like I said, we're going to take our final break. And as usual, each break is only 1 minute long. So, as usual, we'll be back into the zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. Here we go again. We're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Coming to you live from Mile High, the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. We're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. We are here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're talking baseball. In case you just tuned in or you tuned in a little late, we're two games we already talked about. Oakland Athletics against the Texas Rangers. The pros are on the Athletics. Cardinals against Kansas City. They're on the Kansas City Royals. And of course, we have one more game at 9 o'clock. The Houston Astros, 69 and 46, up against the Los Angeles Angels at 58 and 59. They're just under 500. The Astros took care of business yesterday. They beat the Angels 4-1. And in that game, they were minus 135 as road favorites on the money line. Now, in tonight's rematch, Houston comes back with their right-hander, Luis Garcia. He's 8-6 with a 3.29 ERA. And Los Angeles comes back with their right-hander, Jaime Barria. He's 2-0. He's undefeated, 4.21 ERA. Now, as we look at the line here, it opened with the Astros as a minus 150 road favorite, the Angels as a plus 140 home dog. Now, Once again, the pros aren't outsmarting themselves on this one. They're riding the Astros. They steamed Houston up from minus 150 to minus 177. That's the latest we've seen. Now, teams coming off a win that have 15 cents of steam or more are at almost 60% as a win percentage so far this season. The Astros have dominated that American League West, going 31 and 14 in that total division. Now, Houston 55 and 33 whenever they're a favorite. The Angels, when they're a dog, they're only 26 and 32. The Astros are 43 and 28 against right-handers. The Angels, well, they're 37 and 40 against righties. Houston is 7 and 3 against Los Angeles so far this season. And of course, there appears to be some liability on a low scoring game. The total is set at 9.5, but once again, the under is juiced to minus 115. If it gets juiced to minus 120, you might see that number drop down to 9. So in the game between Houston and Los Angeles, the pros are on the Houston Astros. Now, we want to give you an idea as to how well this system it has been doing so far. Again, so far this season, we're at 55%, starting back from April 1st when the season first began. But as far as the month of August is concerned, we are now at 68%. We've had 35 plays and 24 winners in that time period. Now, yesterday, we had 3 selections. One of them was postponed. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh did not play. The Reds against Philadelphia, we had the Philadelphia Phillies. They lost to the Reds. However, we had the Dodgers against the Mets, and the Dodgers won that game. And the day before that, we had 3 plays, 2 winners and 1 loser. The day before that, we had 3 plays, and all 3 were winners. Just kind of give you an update as to how well the system is doing. It's up to you to decide at what point in time you want to use part of it, jump in on it, get out of it. That's, again, totally up to you. We leave it up to you. Now, talking about winning and losing streaks. Yesterday, we had 4 games that came under that category. You had Pittsburgh, who's in an 8-game losing streak against Milwaukee. That game was postponed, like we said. The Cubs, who are on an 8-game losing streak, lost to Miami, so they are now at a 9-game losing streak. And Baltimore is now at a 9-game losing streak, and they're playing Boston. Now, one game kind of changed. Oakland was on a 7-point winning streak, and they lost to Texas yesterday. So now what happens is now that game, that team falls under what we call the swagger theory. Basically, all the swagger theory says is that if a team comes off a winning streak and they lose, they usually lose the next game. Conversely, if they're coming off a losing streak and they win a game, they usually win the game afterwards as well. So if you're looking at something else to bet on for today, you have Oakland that comes in under that swagger theory category. They should lose today, but again, it changes. You know that as well as I do. No matter how well all the numbers look, no matter how many years you go back and do numbers and see how they're working, there's always 1 or 2 somewhere along the line that kind of don't fall into that same place. But anyway, we're just bringing it to your attention, trying to give you as much different ways of betting that is available to you that you may not be aware of. So that's the story as far as the winning losing streaks are concerned. Once again, let's go over the 3 games on tap for today. We've got Oakland against the Texas Rangers, the game we just talked about. The pros, they happen to like Oakland in this game very big. And if you like Oakland in this game, you're going to be laying some heavy, heavy duty wood as far as that's concerned. Meanwhile, the Cardinals against the Royals, the pros in this game are on the Kansas City Royals. And of course, Houston against the Angels, the pros are on the Houston Astros. And we talked about the NFL and that under 37 system that we talked about, 37 points total in a game. That's what that 37 represents in case you missed the first part of the show. There are 4 games tonight on tap in the NFL that fall into the category of being in this under 37 system, which means that a game has to be at 37 or more in order to qualify. You have the Dolphins and the Bears. They're at 37, so you bet the under there. The Browns and the Jaguars are at 37. You bet the under there. You have the Chiefs and the 49ers. They're at 38, so you bet the under there because it's over 37. Seahawks and the Raiders, they're at 37, so you bet the under there. So those are the 4 games that kind of fit into that category. And if you're looking for something else to bet on, that's just something to look at. Like we said, going back to 2014, that little system has been doing very, very well, especially so far this season as well. This season is 5-1 so far. That's not bad at all. But anyway, we leave it up to you. Give you all the numbers. You decide which way you want to go. So that's the story for today. It's Saturday. It's a weekend. I hope you have some nice things planned for this weekend. I hope you have a very pleasant Saturday. And of course, if you're going to do any betting, whether it's NFL, or if you're going to bet baseball or whatever else, maybe some golf if you're interested in betting on that, I certainly hope you have a very prosperous day. I hope you do very well. That's the point of the show. Trying to do everything we can to help you get better. Not trying to show you how smart we are or whatever, because we're not, okay? We're just giving you numbers and saying, okay, here they are. They've worked here, they've worked there. We leave it up to you. You can use it or not. It's totally your decision. So, once again, thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. We're here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So, once again, thanks for listening, and we'll be back on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network tomorrow morning, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Apple, Spotify, and many, many more. So, until tomorrow, have a very great Saturday. And of course, if you're betting, I hope you have a profitable Saturday as well. Goodbye, everybody.